Wake up and smell the cosmic coffee because it is just another Magic Monday. Good morning, loves. My name is Comet. Welcome to my Cosmic Corner here on YouTube.com, where we break down the astrology forecast for the week of November 28th to December 4th, but every other week for that matter. So if the content resonates with you, please subscribe, start your Monday with us, leave your intention in the comments, let me know what you're sipping on to start your week. And here on Magic Monday, we take a practical, tangible approach to your weekly horoscope. So not just what's happening, but how you can lean into these influences and co-create with them in order to live your most magical, most aligned life, maximizing the celestial opportunities and minimizing the celestial obstacles. So this week is a combination of both, my love, because we have some energy that is hardworking, that is practical, that is future forward, i.e. we have Mars trining Saturn, which is a welcome burst of focus amidst the Mars retrograde drama. Truly, my love, if you're feeling lethargic, can't focus, not feeling that motivated, this is your reminder that it is Mars retrograde, so you're simply in tune with the cosmos, my love. But this week we get kind of a welcome break from that, where we're able to feel a little bit more focused. We're able to attune to the big picture goal and navigate the steps that are needed to get there. So you know, whenever we talk about Mars retrograde, it's not my favorite time when it comes to launching new things, because it's typically best as it relates to catching up, reviewing. But this is sort of an energy where we can look back at where our energy is expended and begin to build it and use it in a more intelligent fashion. So literally working smarter and not harder is absolutely the vibe. And our mental space is more attuned to the big picture vision and the practical steps that are needed to get there. You may be saying, Haley Comet, this sounds like a beautiful week. Not so fast, my love, not so fast. There are some volatile energies that we are working with in this week's astrology that I want you to be mindful of. We have Venus opposite Mars, Mercury opposite Mars. Keep in mind, a lot of the cosmos is in Sagittarius, and if there is one thing Sagittarius is going to do, it's going to tell the truth. It's going to get on its little soapbox and tell its truth, right? So we have this very blunt energy and this very volatile, explosive energy. This is giving foot and mouth. This is giving having an argument and being a little too honest. This is people asking for feedback and then getting their feelings hurt when you give your honest feedback. And the thing about the truth is not everybody wants to hear it. Many people actively strive to avoid it, and that feels to be the energy this week because we have both Mercury and Venus squaring Neptune, and Neptune itself stationing direct. Now, if you are not familiar with Neptune, Neptune is the planet of deception. It's the planet of fantasy. It's the planet of staying within our little dream world. So for some, this can be a really powerful week if you're able to take the feedback. Yes, it might be told in a rather explosive way and use it to integrate your big picture, but it feels like a lot of us are going to have a tendency to just stick our head in the clouds and just ignore the root of the problem. So you see what I mean? There's a lot of different energies this week. It can be a very powerful, forward-moving week so long as you are ready to face the truth. Yes, it might hurt a little bit, but being hurt a little bit by the truth is better than living in a lie. So let's give this week's astrology a little bit more nuance in depth with our thematic as well as day-by-day breakdown. I just want to make a quick reminder that I do have my holiday specials that are available. You can check them out below in the description as well as in the pinned comment. So we have gift cards if you want to give an astrology lover in your world the gift of self-illumination. We have recorded readings if you want to have that reading available for them on that special morning when they open their eyes. And we also have year-long packages for my digital astrology planner. It's called Magic Monthly, and there are two options. The first is the overall planner, which breaks down the month's astrology, the big picture themes, as well as a breakdown of every single astrological aspect and how you can co-create with it. If you're familiar with my channel, I'm very passionate about co-creating with the cosmos. I think even difficult astrology aspects can have something to teach us so long as we are navigating with it. So within this year-long package, you will have every single month's astrology. You can fill it in, customized based on your houses, your new moon intentions, your daily habits. There's lots of fun little features within it, or you can opt for customized. So that's if houses confuse you, you don't know how to find exactly where everything lands. And in that tier, I will get your birth information, I will fill it in. And it's really fun because I write little notes. So if there's like a really impactful aspect, I'm like, girly girl, Be careful, Mars square Neptune is linking your 4th and 7th houses. Be mindful as it relates to family drama. Like, I basically go in and write you some personal notes based on aspects that feel notable from your individual astrology. So in both of these tiers, the general as well as the customized, you get 3 months free when you buy the year long. And a fun little holiday perk. So just for recorded readings that are purchased between now and the end of the year as supplies last, because there is only one of me, every recorded reading that is purchased comes with a free month of Magic Monthly. This question has come up, so I just want to address it. That is a total freebie. You just get to try the month of January 2023 for free. You don't have to purchase a year long. It's just trying it for 1 month. And then if you like it, you can continue, or you could just learn how to start 2023 aligned and tuned with the cosmos, and that is that. So super happy and grateful to have these holiday specials. And I just want to give a thank you to every single person who's part of my 2022, whether you booked with me, whether you watched me, whether you supported the membership, however you were part of my universe. Thank you so much. You made my year so magical. So without further ado, let's dive into vibe check of the week. So let's break it down into vibe check of the week. So if you are new here, vibe check of the week is when we break down the week's astrology and liken it to a real life situation so that we can begin to tune into the energetics, the themes, the challenges of the week's astrology. If the actual verbiage, Neptune direct, Sun, trine, Chiron, doesn't necessarily elicit any strong emotional response, perhaps the vibe check will. Okay, so this week's vibe check is like a fight. And for the sake of the vibe check, I'm going to paint a little picture, okay? So I'm going to say that you are with your spouse. Maybe some of you aren't married. Go ahead and fill in your girlfriend, your best friend, your business partner, whomever. You are with this person at a social outing. And this person says something that you find inappropriate. And it's mostly their friends, and they say something and you think it is not cool. You think it's inappropriate, and you lash out. You are explosive. You tell everybody at the party exactly how you are feeling. Maybe not the delivery you would love to come out, but alas, it comes out. And there's just this energy where it's like, no, I can't take this disrespect. I can't take this. This is my truth, and everybody's going to know. This week's astrology sort of feels like the arc of the fight, okay? So the oppositions to Mars is that explosive energy, that why would you talk about this, or this is my truth and everybody needs to know, things being a little bit more explosive, erratic, and impulsive than we would perhaps like them to come out, right? But alas, the truth comes out. And with these nice Saturn aspects, it's almost this vibe where you're able to fight forward with this person, where you're able to, maybe they pull you aside at the social outing and they're like, all right, girly girl, you blew up in front of this shrimp cocktail, but let's talk about it. Let's get to the root of the issue. And furthermore, let's fight forward and let's find a solution. Like, what are the topics you would not like me to discuss about in front of my friends? How does our communication need to improve so that we don't get into arguments in front of all of these people? Essentially, now that the truth is out, let's find a solution for it. Let's work forward. Again, delivery was not great. We did not mean to yell at the poor waitress who was not involved in the situation and just had a tray pass of shrimp cocktail. Not ideal, but the truth came out. And sometimes that is helpful in arguments. Like sometimes there's this energy, especially with Mars retrograde, of just holding on to things and holding on to things and holding on to things. And sometimes when you have that really blunt communication that comes out in an argument, sometimes there's pieces that needed to be communicated, but we kept suppressing and keeping underneath. And sometimes it's helpful for the stuff to come out so we can say, oh, I didn't know that you felt that way. Let's find a solution. Let's work forward. And then the rest of the week's astrology, because we have Sun, trine, Chiron, which is this very healing energy. And then as the week continues, we have all these Neptune aspects, Neptune stationing direct. This feels like the pink cloud after an argument, or having rose-colored glasses after an argument, where after all those intense emotions came out, you just want to like get back to intensely loving, or if it's a business partner, intensely working together, or anything of that nature. And there's this vibe where they're in their best behavior. They're getting you flowers, they're taking you on trips, and maybe at the social outing, they're trying to be very, very mindful around what it is that they say. Is it always going to be like that? Maybe during Neptune aspects, we think it will be. Neptune is the energy of the fairy tale around, now our relationship is perfect. And it's like, no, there's going to be other arguments. They might forget at the next social outing that that's a particular topic you don't love talking about in social environments. Not pleasant. But there's this vibe towards the end of the week where it's like, just rose-colored glasses, our relationship is perfect. And I really do think there is something to it. Like when you argue and your cortisol level raises, like the phase around like making up, there's like such an intense low, and they're almost the pendulum swings where to this really intense high where it's like, I love you, we are perfect, it's all the fairy tale, it's all good. And, is that the truth? No, but is it kind of a healing week if we're able to face the truth head on, even if it's blunt? Even if it's explosive, even if it's not how we would ideally want the delivery? Yes. So I do want you to face the truth. Do know towards the end of the week, there's going to be a strong temptation to stay in the clouds, believe the fairy tale, stay in dreamland. So really, there's going to be an angel and devil on your shoulder this week. One saying, let's ground down, let's look for logical, practical steps forward. And one saying, let's escape and avoid the problem. Because I don't know if you've ever had relationships or partnerships where you don't fight forward at all. You fight, all this stuff comes out, then it's like, let's just bury it and not deal with it and just be in our little dreamland where we don't have to deal with the real stuff. That's not what I want you to do. I want you to observe what comes to the surface and work with it step by step. So let's break down how this is going to come to the surface day by day. Do keep in mind all times that I mention are PST, so make sure to adjust to your time zone before putting it into your planner. And without further ado, let's dive into the astrology of Monday, November 28th. Good morning. Welcome to your astrology forecast for Monday, November 28th. So the moon is in Aquarius all day, and the Aquarius moon sextiles the Sagittarius sun a little bit after midnight, and I love this combination. I mean, I feel like it is so big picture. It's so idealistic. It is very rebellious, and there does feel to be a vibe, honestly, with the Aquarius moon going on to square Uranus. It sextiles all of these Sagittarius placements, so the Mercury in Sagittarius, Venus in Sagittarius, and then it conjoins Saturn. There feels to be a little bit of a pushback from our responsibilities, but I do want to highlight with that Mars trine Saturn, continuing to anchor into where it is that you want to go and plotting your steps to show up mindfully and intentionally in that direction, okay, my loves? Because with Mars retrograde, bear with me for a strange analogy, but it's almost like we are no longer warm-blooded animals, if, blood refers to motivation, and we sort of have to be a little bit more disciplined about infusing it into our world, right? Motivation fades, discipline stays forever. I'm talking like one of those corny shirts, you know what I'm talking about? But what I mean by that is this is sort of an energy where we're going to have to muscle through it. Certainly with all of this sort of rebellious energy, if our boss tells us to do it, if our accountability partner tells us to do it, we're going to be like, I'm not listening to you. Because this is a combination where it's like, if you tell someone who has strong Sagittarius and Aquarius to do something, they're going to want to do the opposite thing even more so, right? So it's not necessarily that other people can make you do it. It needs to come from within. You might so prefer to get in bed after work, but you're like, I said I would go to the gym. I need to go to the gym. I would so rather just eat Cheetos on the couch, but let me just go ahead and make the fish that I had set aside. There's a vibe where we have to muscle through it and we have to pull that motivation from within. I've been, with this energy, I've been feeling so listless, so lethargic, and that motivation hasn't been coming to me. So I've had to be really disciplined about sourcing it from my external world, listening to lots of motivational podcasts, reading lots of motivational books, all of these things to muscle through it. Because it's just an energy where we can be annoyed with our responsibilities, annoyed with authority figures. We have to value our own long-term dreams, what it is that we want to build, enough that we show up. Enough that we show up to that workout, enough that we show up to that business meeting, enough that we show up to that networking event. You have to value who it is that you are turning into and how it is that you are meant to show up, more so than the momentary, discomfort of forcing yourself to get there. Like, I'm telling you, it's going to be hard. Monday is the day to muscle through your responsibilities. And one of these aforementioned motivational podcasts that I was listening to, she was saying, if it's in your dreams, it needs to show up in your weeks. Like, if you say it's important to you to show up as a leader, you need to ensure within your weeks that you are showing up to leadership training or books or things of that nature. Your priorities need to show up within your weeks. And like I said, if you're feeling listless and lethargic, you're in tune with the cosmos. So it's not meant to be easy at this time, but it is important to look at our energy, what it is that we are putting it towards, and how it is that we can use it more intelligently, literally working smarter and not harder. Now, with the moon squaring Uranus, there can be certain disruptions at work, whether it's technical difficulties, but it does feel with the Sagittarius energy, this will be a nice change of pace. You're not that intrigued and muscling through all the responsibilities anyway, so you want kind of a distraction. And just important with the moon conjoining Saturn, there's going to be a heaviness. I don't want to. This is annoying. Why do I have to go to work? Why do I have to work out? Why do I have to devote time to my business? Muscle through it. If it's important to you, put energy towards it, okay? It's not going to be easy, but it is going to be worth it. On Tuesday, the 29th, this is why I was saying, show up on Monday, muscle through the hard work, even if you don't feel like it. Because my love, on Tuesday, the 29th, the moon is void for a majority of the day. The moon goes void around 10 p.m. on Monday night, stays void, my love, stays void until it enters Pisces at 4:15 p.m. PST on Tuesday the 29th. So that's a long void moon period. And if you're new here, when the moon is void, important tasks we must avoid. Do not bucket the most important thing of your life at a time when the moon is void. It is not conducive as it relates to new starts and fertile new beginnings. It's a no. It's a no. And with void moons, we tend to feel listless, exhausted. The closing aspect was the moon on Saturn. So annoyed, frustrated. And adding to it, we have Mercury and Sag opposing Mars and Gemini around noon on Tuesday. This is communication a little bit more blunt than you would intend. This is the vibe at that social outing when you tell not only your partner, but everybody else at this dinner party exactly how you are feeling. Because with Mercury and Sagittarius, it says how it is, right? Like with Mercury and Sagittarius, we have to keep in mind, Sagittarius is the archer. Arrow points in one direction. Right? It's very forward. It's not going to waste time. It's not going to waste time getting to the truth of the matter. And it's sort of being hyped up by Mars and Gemini, who's like, yeah, tell them how you feel. Tell them how you feel. Because Mars, in addition to motivation, also governs anger. So not only are we working with this energy where the energy of motivation, right, isn't like kind of naturally occurring within ourselves. We kind of have to force it a little bit. We kind of have to get ourselves in gym clothes and hope that when we get to the gym, we'll feel like working out, right? We have to put in the energy towards a relationship, even if we are not in the mood to have this argument. We have to show up, right? We're not feeling like showing up, but we have to show up. Another aspect that's being reviewed with this Mars retrograde, in addition to our motivation, our energy, and our actions, is our anger. And with Mars retrograde, a lot of us have been feeling more frustrated and a little bit more repressed as it relates to anger. And with it opposing Mercury, there's just a vibe where it's like we're telling this person exactly how it is that we feel. So when it comes to meetings, our verbiage can be a little bit more explosive, intense, blunt. We can be a little bit more frustrated as it relates to our language. We're just telling people exactly how we feel. Now, this can be helpful in some circumstances if you feel like you've been swallowing your truth. Like I said, sometimes we can fight forward. Sometimes it's like, whoopsie, that came off way too blunt, but there was truth in there that this person needed to know. Not my best delivery, not my best output, but at least we know the truth and we can move forward from knowing the truth. The truth will set you free. That's why Sagittarius is the archetype of the traveler, of the freedom seeker, and also the truth teller, right? The truth will set us free. Not pleasant, but helpful. That being said, this can be an energy where we get a little mean, so important to watch your tongue. And while this is much more explosive, volatile communication than we would like, there is an energy where we can move forward with it. Now, the moon is void for majority of the day, so I would be cautious with this, but do know Mercury opposes Mars and then goes on to sextile Saturn. So it's like, whoopsie, I accidentally rebuted my coworker's idea a little bit too intensely, but my point was valid and now we're able to build a new direction. Or like, whoopsie, I actually told my partner exactly how I feel about his friends, but we're able to build some solutions in a positive pathway forward. Like there's this vibe where, yes, oops, that was a little too much. This maybe wasn't the right environment. That was a little too blunt. That was a little too mean. But if we can find the truth of the matter, we can build forward. We can move forward so long as we are aligned with that, the long term of how we want to show up and moving in that direction, right? The truth is coming out. Try not to bury your head in the sand. Face it, acknowledge it. Let's move forward with it. And so that positive aspect happens around 8:16 p.m. So if you do have to have an important conversation this week, it might be helpful after the moon enters Pisces. So that's at 4:15, just because then the moon's no longer void. Void is the most helpful as it relates to conversations. I just feel like if you have a conversation before with Mercury opposite Mars, it might be a meeting that just goes on and on and on where nothing gets accomplished. Does anybody else go crazy with that? Or if you've been in a fight where nothing gets accomplished, like keep in mind, moving forward, using our energy smartly and intelligently, moving towards the future rather than just spinning like a little hamster wheel, okay? None of this in meetings, none of this in conversations, none of this in fights. Let's take the truth that's coming up and let's plot our pathway forward. And then on Tuesday, when the moon enters Pisces, the focus shifts more so to the spiritual realm. We want to escape, right? We want to dissolve into our daydream. Not what I would advise, as I've highlighted, but there is a strong call to dissolve into connection, dissolve into art, dissolve into spirit, dissolve into nature. There's a strong desire to want to connect to something bigger and connect to something deeper. This is a very sensitive, compassionate, artistic transit. So remembering to ground yourself, because now we have a lot of the cosmos answering to Jupiter. Jupiter, we love it for its optimism, for its sense of meaning, for its sense of faith in the world, but it is the energy of excess. So just being mindful, grounding yourself down, observing what it is that you use to escape, because like I said, 2 wolves this week, my love, 2 wolves. And important to continue to ground down into reality and how it is that you can move forward rather than just escaping or running from what's coming up or hiding from it with a bottle of wine or distracting yourself with another trip or anything of that nature. Important to ground yourself down practically and tangibly. On Wednesday the 30th, we have the first quarter moon in Pisces. So this is a callback to last week's Sagittarius new moon, which, by the way, I would love to hear. Did you do a ritual? Did you feel the good vibes of Jupiter stationing direct? Let me know below. But this is sort of a callback towards that new moon, especially if it was impactful for you, my love, sort of a callback to it. And with a Sagittarius sun, Pisces moon, idealistic, they are; practical, they are not. So also just being mindful that dreams, daydreams, ideas are satisfying to imagine. It's satisfying to escape into your own world, but reminding yourself that it's even more satisfying when you make it happen here. So with the first quarter moon, being mindful around, instead of just dreaming, because like I said, with Sagittarius new moon, dreaming big, setting our sights high, and rather than just dissolving into, well, I don't really want to take singing lessons, but it is fun to daydream about Oscars. This is the vibe where it's like, how can I make these dreams, these daydreams, a reality, right? That's going to be an important piece to Saturn and Pisces, which is a forthcoming transit, which PS, my all signs and collective reading will be posted this Friday. So do look out for that, but really observe where you're feeling this tendency to withdraw. It's the natural Pisces moon way. And when you feel that sensation, choose to merge that idealism or those dreams that you're having and those ideals, find ways to ground them practically. So if you are daydreaming about have that 6-pack, remember to ground down. You have to do a couple crunches. If you're daydreaming about having this perfect relationship, you need to show up and do the work practically and having communication. Like a lot of our dreams takes the practical efforts to, fight forward, move forward, plot our energy forward, right? This is a week to ground down. Won't be easy, but please do. And I do want to let you know that the Pisces moon sextiles Uranus and Taurus Wednesday evening, which is very inventive, it's very novel, it's very creative, so great time to create. And my love, it's not just Mercury. So Tuesday, Mercury beefed with Mars, which is the energy around saying exactly what is on our mind, knee-jerk, impulsive reactions like, whoops, maybe that was a little too much. Maybe that was a little too blunt. Maybe I didn't need to yell that. Maybe I didn't need to say that in front of all those people. But alas, that's my truth. It came out. What can you do? Words are like, toothpaste in a tube. It's like once it comes out, it's really hard to get back in the tube. And then Wednesday, now Mars is coming for Venus. And so this is shining a spotlight as it relates to our romantic relationships, right? Because that's what Venus is all about. So with Venus opposite Mars, our relationships are going to be a little bit more combative. There might be a strong tilt or urge to do your own thing. Like Venus in Sagittarius is very freedom seeking. And there can be a little bit of conflict around, this is what's important to me, this is what I want to do, and I don't want to listen to you. Like I said with Sagittarius, it's very rebellious energy. This is, we want to do our own thing. And with opposite to Mars, any sort of trying to acquiesce or collaborate with our partners, we're just going to really crave having a space to do our own thing. And we could be a little bit more combative in love. We could be a little bit more impulsive. Certainly when it comes to finances, we can be more impulsive. And I'll be forthright, this is quite a spicy transit, because these are the 2 passion planets. Yes, this can create more fights, more arguments, not seeing eye to eye, feeling like the connection is threatening your freedom, or a vibe where we're just testy, like had a bad day and it's like your partner says something and then you're like, why haven't you fixed the blah, 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 or why is this still an issue, or why have you picked up this shift, or whatever it is, right? Just feeling a little bit more testy in relationships. But it's also the vibe where things can be a little bit more banter. Like again, be mindful not to go too far. Like this is the vibe where you could like joke about something to your partner and then they take offense to it because it was a little too honest. So definitely play with some banter. It does feel very flirty. It can feel like the vibe where there's an argument, and then, you know, when there's an argument and then tensions and passions are running high, and then after there's that same passion that was being directed towards fighting is being directed towards loving. So it's just all very intense, right? The tensions are running high. And my really advice with this is definitely, you know, infuse some banter, infuse some flirtiness, try not to go too far, and also understand that, like, when it comes to arguing, it's not a bad thing in relationships and partnerships. It depends on how you do it, right? And with this, it's like a lot of times when we see things differently, that does create polarity, and polarity does create attraction. So long as you're being curious, Mars is in Gemini, about the other person's perspective, and really able to ground down the insights that are coming to the surface in order to build forward more effectively, like realizing, okay, you don't like it when I joke about that. Got it. Let's move forward. Now we know that. I'm curious about why that triggers you. Now I understand. Now we can move forward. Like, this is a flirty, passionate aspect. Be careful. It can easily tilt towards explosive, but in small doses, it can be flirty, playful, and fun. My love, I hope you do not need to be productive on Thursday. Okay, I hope that's not something that you needed. I'm telling you, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, even if you do not feel like it, keep in mind, Mars is retrograde, so you might not feel like it. You might need to force yourself, but show up on those days, muscle through those days, because Tuesday and Thursday are not giving focus at all. So we have this mutable T-square of the moon and Neptune squaring Mercury, Venus in Sagittarius, opposing Mars in Gemini. So this is head in the clouds. This is distracted. This is cannot focus. This is daydreaming. They're just like all beefing. The thing about mutable T-squares is that it's very distracted. It's very all over the place. Pisces moon is in a daydream, and with the squares to Sagittarius and Gemini placements, we're all over the place. We might be inspired by a lot or just easily distracted. Like, we're doing this, and then this person talks to us, and now our energy is going over here. It's just feeling very scattered, feeling very all over the place, and adding to this mental fog and confusion that the morning is rife with. Mercury squares Neptune later that day. Mercury square Neptune is like the vibe and the vibe check where after a fight where you're just telling your partner everything that they want to hear, like, okay, I'll never do it again, don't worry. Because the thing about Mercury Neptune is that we can't really trust people's words. With Neptune, it's a smokescreen. It's not real. Words can be used to deceive. So if there was some sort of explosive communication that came out a couple days ago with Mercury square Neptune, there's almost like a fake solution or being lulled into complacency where it's like, did we solve the issue, or did we just calm our nervous systems down with a comforting lie? Okay? Face the uncomfortable truth rather than be soothed by a comfortable lie. With Mercury square Neptune, not the day that I would handle any sort of conversations. I mean, to our mental level, we're distracted, our head's in the clouds. It can be very imaginative, but when it comes to communications, we can feel misunderstood. I'm telling you, if you have meetings Tuesday and Thursday, it just feels like the meetings that go nowhere. It's hamster wheel communications. You have to continually ground down, what is the big picture here? And with Mercury squaring Neptune, I would be really mindful around anything that people are selling you or trying to tell you, whether it's like, baby, I'll change. It's like, will you? Like, allow actions to do the talking this week, okay? Like, words can be pretty, they can sound nice, they can be everything that you want to hear. But if it doesn't solve the solution to a deep level, if it doesn't allow you to face the truth head on, how helpful is a lie really? How helpful is a fantasy really? How helpful is a daydream really? We need to support it with tangible, daily, practical actions, right? And in addition to that mutable T-square, we may be a little more idealistic and optimistic than what would necessarily be helpful on Thursday. Because that day, so that afternoon, the mutable T-square exacts in the morning. That afternoon, the Pisces moon sextiles Pluto in Capricorn, and also conjoins Jupiter. So we can really be feeling a little bit more powerful. We're feeling like active co-creators of our world, which I love that. I want to empower you to feel that. Optimism, but important to know that optimism is helpful to a certain point. Like, there is a lot of dreaming energy on Thursday, not a lot of energy of doing. And I want you to think of certain scenarios where optimism has not been very helpful for you. Like, if you've ever been like, I'll just get gas in the morning before work, and then the next morning you're running late as you always are, and you're like, in what world did I think that I would be able to get gas before work? Or if you're like, I can handle this tomorrow. I can slack off today. We're a little bit more optimistic than is necessarily helpful. And keep in mind, a lot of the cosmos are answering to Jupiter at this moment. So yes, we love Jupiter for its idealism, for its optimism, but not for its realism. So just know that on Thursday, you are not seeing your world super clearly. And at that, you're a little distracted. You're a little all over the place. Sometimes it's nice to just get inspired and to daydream about the big picture and what it can entail. But do know, it's a lot of dreaming energy on Thursday and not a lot of doing energy on Thursday. I do want to highlight Venus does sextile Saturn though. So with this fascinating sequence of, Mercury and Venus opposing Mars. So it's like something coming out, action and impulsiveness, bringing it out, and then harmonious aspects of Saturn. It's like, it's helpful what came out. So maybe having an argument with a partner, but it's helpful because it allows you to build forward. Maybe you made an impulsive financial decision, but it's helpful because now you're looking at your finances and plotting a pathway forward. Just know with this harmonious aspect that exacts on Thursday, this is the only really realistic part of the day, honestly, is Venus sextile Saturn. It is helpful when it comes to connection, when it comes to building the partnerships that you want, when it comes to looking at your finances. Again, do know we have this optimistic lens, but with Venus sextile Saturn can be helpful as it relates to financial planning, budgeting as it relates to Christmas shopping, anything of that nature. The moon is void in Pisces at 6:44. Closing aspect is conjunction to Jupiter. It feels good to feel good. Fuel optimism, fuel joy, maybe in your connection with this and Venus sextiling Saturn shortly after. Like getting excited about the connection, like allowing yourselves to be like, what if we traveled here? What if we did this? Like allowing yourselves to envision the future, build towards it. Again, are you guys going to do all of those things? Probably not, but this is a helpful energy around feeling good and feeling optimistic, whether that's in relationships. I say that because Venus sextile Saturn right after, whether it relates to money, finances would also be a Venus aspect, or really with Moon Jupiter, it can just be energy around feeling good because you've dissolved into a good book or a movie and you just feel pleasurable and at ease with the world. Lovely. That evening, the moon enters Aries at 8:41 p.m. So the astrology of Friday, December 2nd, we have the Sagittarius Sun trine Aries moon. And both of these placements are obviously fire. It's nice to have some fire energy in the cosmos. Aries moon is helpful as it relates to feeling self-sufficient, being invigorated by a challenge. And this is the energy where we are craving different stimuli and challenge. I think a lot of people have been bored with Mars retrograde in Gemini, and this is sort of an energy where we're craving adventure, we're craving spontaneity. This is a great time to say yes to life. Say yes to that interesting sounding project. Look at every challenge in front of you as an opportunity to learn, right? That is the energy of the Sag Sun and Aries moon. I do want to highlight that the Aries moon does conjoin Chiron on Friday, so being conscious around where little triggers or little wounds come to the surface. Like this is the vibe, back to the vibe check, where it's like at this outing your partner says these things in front of their friends and it like triggers something within you and you almost go on the offense, right? With Chiron and Aries, we're being asked to sort of look at that within our world around how our insecurities can almost make us go on the offense and be bullies or be mean towards other people. Not saying you guys would necessarily, but just being conscious where you feel overly defensive, right? Where you feel like you have to overcompensate for where you don't feel to be enough, and how it is that you can seek to rather integrate it and be honest and direct with yourself. Like that's what I love about this combo of Sagittarius Sun and Aries Moon is it's both, they don't fake the funk, right? It's very forthright. So in the spirit of being honest and grounded about what is needed, whether it's needed when it comes to our work efforts, whether it's needed within our relationships, it's the energy around where it's needed within your healing journey, being honest about where it is that you are, right? And where it is that you want to be and the tools that will help you to get there. I've been running into this so often where I'm so frustrated. I'm so frustrated with how I am, and I'm realizing these loops, like these stories, they just keep showing up and I have to break the pattern. It's frustrating. It's so deeply challenging to break a habit or to start doing things in a different way. And it takes being honest with yourself. Like for me, just to give some nuance and some depth to it, it's the dominant story that plays out for me is like, I'm so frazzled, I never have time. And I'm like, why, no matter what my life looks like, I constantly feel frazzled, like I don't have time. Like I don't have any children. I, used to work a 9 to 5 and now I work for myself. And I kept thinking as soon as I work for myself, things will slow down. But it's like it never has. And when circumstances in your life have changed, but you yourself are still showing up in the same ways, entrenched in the same patterns and in the same stories, you almost have to take that moment to be like, so it's not the world. It seems to be me. So I've been running into this energy where I want to blame everything else. I'm like, well, it's all of these things. But at a certain point, I have to just be like, yeah, it might be me. I just might be a naturally very frazzled person. I might not be great around understanding my workload and what I can realistically take on. Like there is healing that can come from being honest, whether it's being honest within our relationships, being honest when it comes to our financial status, that's important with Venus involved this week, or being honest when it comes to our healing journey. I am so sorry if the camera angle changed slightly. Looking at the viewfinder actually looks like it changed more than slightly. I apologize about that. The battery died and then I realized I was very hungry. So I made myself a little snack. So I don't have any crumbs anywhere. Let's talk about the astrology for Saturday, December 3rd. And I am going to assign you a little bit of cosmic homework assignment. Yes, astrology homework. It is a thing because on Saturday, I do feel that it is important to escape. Okay, and escape constructively. I don't want you to run from the truth, as I've been highlighting. I don't want you to, live in a cloud, avoiding reality, but I do want you to get lost. I want you to dissolve, and I'll highlight why. Firstly, the Aries moon is really wanting an adventure. We can be feeling a bit restless, and we might be craving new stimuli, a new environment, new sights, new experiences, and a new version of us. We could be feeling a little restless as the Aries moon sextiles who it's answering to, so Mars in Gemini. It trines Mercury in Sagittarius, it trines Venus in Sagittarius. We're in the mood to connect, we're in the mood to explore, we're in the mood to adventure, my love. And adding to this, Neptune, the planet of fantasy and imagination, stations direct on Saturday. Now, the outer planets are commonly retrograde. They're actually more retrograde out of the year than they are direct. So it's not the hugest deal unless it is stationing on a personal planet of yours. But what does make it significant is that we do tend to feel that planet more strongly when it switches directions. And I say switches directions because it's not actually hurling through space backwards. It just appears as though it is from our vantage point here on planet Earth. And so when we feel Neptune strongly, there is a strong call to dissolve into art, dissolve into our heart space. And so it almost makes our weekend tinged with this really romantic, dreamy tilt. But the thing about Neptune is that it's not real. Like Neptune in astrology governs screens, mirrors, cameras, it governs cinema, it governs the film industry, because it's all of these things that are projections, right? It's all to make it look real. Like my boyfriend and his best friend are really into filmmaking, and there was this interview with this guy who's like responsible for the sounds that you hear, like when you're watching something and the door closes and there's a little door closing sound, like when a little kitten is eating kibble, they like make a little noise and they add it in. Like it's not actually picking it up, but it just adds it to add some depth. That's why when you watch the making of, like behind the scenes of filming, things can feel a little flat because it's not highlighted with all of these noises, right? And the lighting, the editing, it all comes together to project this fantasy, right? Of this world that is not real, but so much goes into it. The set is just a set. These props are just props. These sounds are exaggerated, embellished, right? Such is the nature of Neptune. And so when we have a strong Neptune transit, there is this fantasy, right? And we are looking for that experience of fantasy. So this weekend isn't great as it relates to, a lot of practical things that you need to get done. You could feel like your head is in the clouds, and you're also looking for that something more out of life, which is why your cosmic homework assignment for Saturday is to escape constructively. I want you to get lost in nature. I want you to get lost in volunteering. Neptune can be a very heart-opening transit. I want you to get lost on a hike. I want you to get lost into a connection, get lost into art, get lost into an album. This can be an energy where we're really just craving that something more. Okay? And with that, sometimes with Neptune, the shadow side of it, the upside is this romantic, imaginative, compassionate energy. We're really just looking to dissolve into our heart space, into our imagination, into what could be. The downside is it can make us quite escapist. There is this tendency to want to run or hide from imagination. But important to remember, Neptune is a smokescreen. Neptune is a mirage. Neptune is a film set, right? It's all of this energy around craving that something more, looking for that something more, and certainly we might find that something more within our spirit, within our heart space, within art, all of these wonderful constructive usages, right? But also there can be a temptation to dissolve into a daydream, dream about your life rather than living it. There could be a tendency to want to dissolve into a bottle of wine, right? Or dissolve, the most dangerous of all, dissolve into comforting lies. Because Neptune, on the same day that it stations direct, it also squares Venus. And Venus is love. So this was the energy of the vibe check where it's like, okay, everything is fine now. Everything's fine now. We're all good. We're in love. We are soulmates. We're never going to have a fight again. It's like, that's not necessarily the truth. And it could show up in other Venusian areas of your life. Venus is also money. So this energy where it's like, if I don't look at my account, it cannot hurt me. Let me just avoid it. Let me just run from it. Let me just charge this thing without checking my balance. What I do not see cannot hurt me. And I also just want you to be conscious when it comes to love. As I've highlighted, there's a strong romantic tilt this week, just with Venus opposite Mars is very tense and conflict ridden as it relates to our relationships. With Venus squaring Neptune, I want you to be conscious around projecting or idealizing people to be something that they are not. Okay, keep in mind with Neptune, we are not seeing things as they are. And while it's lovely to see the world through this Neptunian haze of romance and idealism, important to keep your feet on the ground because your head is in the clouds on this day, okay? So with Venus square Neptune, this is the energy around being, overly giving, or this sort of energy around being like, I saw all these red flags, but with these rose-colored glasses, they just look pink, so it's not a big deal. Like, wow, it's so lovely that you are so in your heart space and so loving and so imaginative during this weekend, just understanding givers need to have limits because takers have none, okay? And while this is so aligned when it comes to, volunteering, giving towards people, certainly that's beautiful. I just also want you to be conscious if it's like, you're running to someone's rescue for like the 16th time. Like there is a call this week to be honest. So maybe it's being honest with that person. Like, hey, what is the behavior that's causing you to constantly need this rescuing? Can we move forward? Maybe you need to be honest with this person around, hey, the jig is up. Like we can't keep living this fantasy that this is the last time. I promise it won't happen again. It's like we need solutions, right? And with Neptune, there's this energy around, well, I didn't mean to. Like we're just a little bit too forgiving. We're a little bit too in our heart space, right? So I do want you to have boundaries. I want you to go into environments where it's safe to dissolve. So places like nature, places around people that you love. It can be very heart-centered and connected so long as, people are worthy of that compassion that you're pouring into them. But very important to have some boundaries on the weekend if it's someone that you're always rescuing, or maybe it's a fight that you always have and there's this tendency to be like, well, it's the last time. It's like, we need to see some real practical solutions. Like the cosmos right now isn't that practical. So we're needing to bring that energy around, okay, let's ground ourselves down. How can we proactively solve this issue? It's not out of sight, out of mind, right? We need to get to the root of it to be able to move forward, right? Because the thing about Neptune and what's so heartbreaking about it, and with so much of the cosmos answering to Jupiter and Pisces, this energy can be heartbreaking because it can be heartbreaking to build someone up in your mind or build something up in your mind to watch that fall from that pedestal. It can be heartbreaking around, why are you not acting like the idealized version of you? Back to the vibe check. I thought after that argument, you would be perfect and it would all be perfect and there would be no other issues. Like you told me that you would. Like you told me that you would. You told me it would all be perfect. And that fall from the pedestal, when we build something up and just imagine that it'll be perfect with no issues at all, it sets ourselves up from a really steep fall from grace, right? Because Neptune is cinema, and unlike movies, it doesn't really have that happily ever after, riding off together into the sunset. Sure, there's moments of joy and there's moments of growth, but it's also punctuated by hard work and discipline and contrast, right? So this weekend, while there is a tendency to want to gloss over issues, to want to be a little too forgiving or a little too compassionate, or the energy around not wanting to deal with reality, I want you to realize that the most effective and the most powerful form of compassion is grounded, is rooted. We got to pick uncomfortable truths truth rather than comfortable lies. In the truth of your being, the truth of the matter, and the truth of the universe. Because I'm telling you, this weekend there could be a strong call around, let's just avoid it. Let's escape into our daydream. Let's deal with that later, right? And while I do want you to have a little mini vacation from reality on Saturday, go for an adventure, go for a hike, volunteer, do something to get yourself out of you, because Neptune is very heart opening. It's very artistic. It's very imaginative. You can be very inspired. If you've been going through a creative rut with Mars retrograde, firstly, same. Secondly, this could be the energy where you get inspired because you're around some new stimuli. Honoring at this particular moment, you're not seeing things clearly, right? You're seeing them through these Neptunian rose-colored glasses. And when I tell you, my love, when you're wearing rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags, okay? So take that energy with you into this weekend. Mind the drinking, mind the boundaries. And then that evening, the moon is void at 9:46, closing aspect Aries moon square Pluto and Capricorn. So try to get some shut-eye before this. This can indicate certain power struggles as it relates to authority figures. There could be a feeling of intensity within our emotional space. That's the thing about Neptune stationing direct. We can definitely feel more emotional, more sensitive. Neptune's very nature is to dissolve boundaries, dissolve space between your heart and mind, right? So we tend to be a little bit more sensitive. And I want to speak to, with Neptune stationing direct, yes, we feel it strongly when it changes directions, but really this is a call around, okay, it's time to take what it is that we've dreamed of and envisioned and put it into action, right? Like it's comforting sometimes to dissolve into a daydream and to see it within your mind's eye and be like, that's so wonderful. But there is this call around, okay, take this optimism, take these ideas, take these creativity and infuse it within your everyday. Have the actions to back it up, or else it just remains that. It just remains an idea. It just remains a dream. And it's hard. Sometimes we have to muscle through it. Mars is retrograde. We don't feel like it. Sometimes it's much easier to stay in bed, dream about what we want, rather than getting up and going to the gym, or getting up and working on our project, or getting up and meal prepping, like all of these annoying aspects. Because trust me, while daydreams and Neptune energy can be comforting, can be lovely to get lost in, it's even more satisfying when it's tangible, when it's real, right? So we need to use the cosmos right now, which most of it is very idealistic and optimistic. We need to infuse that into our everyday. Like I said earlier, if something is important to your big picture, you need to make it part of your weeks, part of your days, and muscle through it. Even if the motivation isn't there, using discipline, using honesty and truth. That evening, the sun trines Chiron, which is a healing energy. And like I said, Sagittarius sun, Chiron in Aries, the truth will set you free. As uncomfortable as it can feel in the moment, to face things head on. If you're feeling this in love, to face things, hey, this person has overstepped their boundaries these times, and I've given them these many chances. They say they'll change and they never do. Or maybe you're feeling it financially around, hey, I agreed to do this contract and it feels super out of integrity for me. I have some resentment because I know I'm being underpaid. And I need to face this head on rather than constantly living around, it'll get better tomorrow, it'll get better tomorrow. Sometimes we have to practically put the effort in to make it better tomorrow rather than just keep pushing ourselves off. So there is a call around honesty and healing, and the healing that comes from honesty. Like, it's uncomfortable, it's an ouch, but it allows us the pathway to move forward. And then on Sunday, the 4th, the moon enters Taurus at 3:34 a.m. And this is grounded and sensual, a lovely time to cook, to luxuriate, long baths, just allow yourself to indulge. Again, we're still kind of working with this Neptunian energy. The Taurus moon is answering to Venus, who's separating from the square to Neptune. I'm not saying fantasy is bad. I'm just saying microdose fantasy, right? Give yourself fantasy in small doses via art and music and movies. Allow yourself to luxuriate, allow yourself to enjoy life, but understand that Neptune is the energy of that comforting lie. It's the energy around someone telling you, I promise I won't do it again. You know in your heart, you're like, you're gonna do it again. This happens every single time. This is the energy around daydreaming every night about something that's so important to your heart, but never really taking action on it, but always having that comforting lie that you tell yourself, oh, well, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. This is the sort of week where we can reap really wonderful results if we are able to really ground down, observe what are your daydreams telling you, what are your ideas and your creativity, what is that stuff kind of pushing you towards, right? And how can you ground it down practically and daily? Where are you feeling this call to escape, to procrastinate, to not run or face the truth? And how can you ground down and create a solution forward? For some of you, I just want to highlight, if you've been like kind of avoiding something, whether avoiding organization with Mercury square Neptune, or having to go through belongings, or maybe facing certain financial realities with Venus square Neptune, this is sort of week to kind of rip the band-aid off, like to look things head on, because when you look things head on, you allow yourself to build towards a solution. Like the thing about Neptune is that it's the constant reassurance around, it'll get better tomorrow, it'll get better tomorrow, it'll get better tomorrow, without fundamentally doing something to change the situation. And this is a powerful week if we are able and brave enough to face things head on and to allow ourselves to find a solution, right? Because Neptune energy is like the vibe around, it won't happen again, don't worry about it, that's the final time, or maybe tomorrow, like those untruths that just keep glossing over the deeper root of the situation. This is a time to face the truth, the truth of the situation, truth of our relationship, truth of our partnership, truth of our work, and allow ourselves to build a pathway forward. Because I didn't mean to scare you on this week, like there is optimistic, forward-thinking energies here, right? There is a lot to be excited about, but I want you to get excited about reality. I want you to take your dreams and your ideals and ground them down here. I promise it'll be so much more satisfying. Like the film set might look good in movies, but when push comes to shove, it is not real. Your daydreams might be lovely, but when push comes to shove, we have to make some stuff happen here and practically. Those words that this person is telling you might sound good. When push comes to shove, they need to be backed up by actions. So my loves, the Magic Monday mantra of the week is, I share my truth mindfully, honestly, and courageously. My love, this is an important week to be grounded in this idea of truth. And I say mindfully because, as I highlighted, our tongue might have a bit of a bite to it. You know, this is great when it relates to wit. Your comebacks could be on point this week, certainly, but it's really important to share it mindfully if possible, because with the harmonious aspects to Saturn, it's like maybe the delivery was a little bit more blunt and harsh, and like our duty as human beings is to, you know, not be cruel to one another if we can help it. Sometimes the truth does hurt, right? But we can express it as mindfully as possible. And when we do, with these harmonious Saturn aspects, there's this ability to be able to build forward, move forward, because Saturn is the opposite of Neptune. Neptune dissolves, Saturn builds. Saturn is annoying but real, and Neptune is beautiful but fake. So this is a week where there's two sides, and again, I'm a Pisces. I love me some Neptune. I love me some dreamland. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying this week is that we miss out on the opportunities when we allow ourselves to procrastinate, or when we allow ourselves to be like, okay, well, maybe tomorrow I'll be like, it won't happen again, without really addressing the root of the problem. Because when we allow ourselves to face our truth and to share it when appropriate, honestly and courageously, we create a path forward for improvement. We create a path forward to build what it is that we want to build, right? Like, you can't build a house on top of the clouds. Like with Neptune, it's everything that is glamorous and idealistic, but if you try to build a house, all your lumber is gonna fall to the ground, right? We need to have our foundation set, and some of that is digging deep and realizing, ooh, there's this foundation issue, or we have to deal with this before we can set the foundation. But how powerful to have this opportunity to review the underlying truth of a situation and to be able to build practically and powerfully forward. So whether you are being asked to face the truth as it relates to a relationship, again, it's not a bad thing to deal with conflict. Sometimes it's just having to review the truth around, this is upsetting to me, and being able to fight forward, as I highlighted, build in a more powerful way rather than just escaping from the root of the problem. Maybe you're feeling this when it comes to work, something that you really need to speak up about. Perhaps you're feeling this as it relates to bad habits that you have and having to deal with the truth around, this is not helping me and it won't change until I do. I want you to grab this week by loving yourself and loving others enough to be honest, okay? The truth will set you free. My loves, my Instagram handle is @HaleyCometAstrology. My TikTok is the same. I would so love to connect with you over there. And until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay magical.